another impossible production. This was another impossible production. This was another impossible production. Push yourself further than ever before. This was another impossible production.
Peace, 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 my beautiful family. I apologize. I'm so sorry for being tardy to the party, because what happened was I meditated and I lost track of time. That happens when you meditate. But it also helps with my calm. And I see some of the I see some of the comments, and it's funny. Rose Go Lightly. Yeah, you're right. Come on, QI. Stop making a bad name for ADHD people. Be on time for once. And that's exactly what it is, Rose Go Lightly. ADHD and losing track of time and having, poor timing. And I see one of my hearts in the house, Miss TRZ. I love you, sister. You always come through. One of my other loves, Shish Trish in the house. Yes, Shish Trish. Thank you for smashing that like. Hello, Deborah Lewis in the building. Hello, early 40s in the building. Hubcap face. On site, April, and I'm reading in the building. Hello. All right. So, family, one of the things that I noticed in like with this sector or in this sector is from day one there's been a lot of triggers. People have had a lot of traumas and different things of that nature, and there are triggers, and we never know what would trigger a person. So today I just sort of like wanted to come on and explain to you what post-traumatic stress is, what a trigger is, what is the meaning of hyper vigilance, um because I too have post-traumatic stress disorder, and it is quite complicated, and it's quite complicated and attached to like be like in this sector of YouTube. So education and knowledge is power. So I'm gonna bring us some knowledge today and educate, so that we'll know and we'll be able to recognize these things when they're happening, and also maybe recognize some people who are in crisis. Now I have to in a minute put up the mental health crisis hotline for anybody who like has been triggered. You can call the mental health crisis hotline, and they will assist you. It's totally confidential, so don't worry. But give me just a couple of minutes here. Okay, I want y'all to listen to this. This is the definition of post-traumatic stress disorder. Let's see, PTSD is short for post-traumatic. Okay, this is the definition of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, what is post-traumatic stress disorder? Hold on. Post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, is a psychiatric disorder that can occur in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, such as a natural disaster, a serious accident, a terrorist act, war, combat, rape, and other violent personal assaults. Post-traumatic stress disorder has been known by many names in the past, such as shell shock during the years of World War I and combat fatigue after World War II. But post-traumatic stress disorder does not just happen to combat veterans. Post-traumatic stress disorder can occur in all people, and people of the ethnicity, nationality, or culture, and any age. PTSD affects approximately 3.5, and I'm going to say I believe it's even higher, but 3.5% of the U.S. adults, and an estimated 1 in 11 people will be diagnosed PTSD in their lifetime. Women are twice as likely as men to have post-traumatic stress disorder. Once again, let me repeat that. Women are twice as likely as men to have post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, just think about what I just said. Why would you think that women will be twice as likely to have post-traumatic stress disorder than men? There are numerous different reasons why. I can name a few, but I just want people to think. I just want to see, like what's on your mind. Well, could it be a domestic violence? Could it be a physical abuse? Could it be society? Could it be childhood sexual trauma or childhood sexual abuse? There are like many causes of post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't, let me say, abuse is not always just physical. Abuse is mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, um, mental, spiritual, physical, financial. I'm leaving out some mental, spiritual, physical, financial. I'm leaving off something. That's the ADHD. But abuse, my point is that abuse comes in many forms. And sometimes what we might not consider abuse is abuse, like control for one, like people who are controlling or controlling. That's, a form of abuse. There are many forms of abuse. So a lot of times, um, something that may not seem abusive to one or may not seem abusive to another could be abusive, to someone else. And, and it could cause post traumatic stress disorder. It could cause trauma. So, like, people are wired differently. All of our bodies are wired differently. Not everybody that goes through trauma ends up having post traumatic stress disorder behind it. But, there are many that do. So, a lot of times we have to watch the way that we speak to people, watch the things that we do, because like you never know what people have been through and what, like your actions, your name calling, which is verbal abuse. I forgot verbal abuse. Verbal abuse, yes. But that's you're right, Rose Go Lightly, but that is not why women are more likely. Actually, let me just tell you the truth. Women go through a lot more like than men, and it's evident if you look at anything mental health wise, anything psychological. Women go through a lot more strains and stress than men do. It's evident in most cases of mental health. It's evident domestic violence. Um, it's hard, children. What is it? Postpartum syndrome from children. Women go through quite a lot, and women are actually the ones that are told to be strong. Women feel like they don't deserve or don't have permission. It's just like if you're a mother, rain, sleet or shine, you know that you got to get up and make sure your kids eat. No if fans buts about it, because if like they go hungry or if something happens to them, that falls on you. So it's not easy at all. Like they say, a mother's job is never done. Right. Hey, LaShonda Green Gospel. Right, LaShonda. Verbal, physical, sexual, mental, and financial, spiritual. It's a lot of different forms of abuse. Yeah, how society exactly, Monica G, and hello, shout out, welcome, and thank you for coming. How society devalues women, patriarchy, or um, I want to find another word that will put it into context where it won't be like so, because people think that like when you're trying to empower women or when you're speaking on women issues that means anti-male. No, it doesn't. When you're speaking on women, we have a right to speak on our individual issues. Who else is going to speak on our individual issues? Who else is going to know how to empower us but us? And society has, from creating derogatory terms, which actually means nothing, like feminism, from creating false propaganda, like, oh, the welfare system broke up the family, or, putting all that additional responsibility and stuff like on women, because women need help. What are you supposed to do? Let your children go hungry? Let your children go hungry or be out in the cold? Or are you going to provide them shelter? If push come to shove, your boyfriend, your husband, like really you shouldn't have to go into the welfare system if you have a boyfriend or husband that's working. But in the event that it happens, because it can, then like you have to make a choice. And unfortunately, society has taught a lot of mothers and women to choose their man over their children. No, you're supposed to choose your children, because your children can't fend for themselves. A man can go out and fend for himself. A man 9 times out of 10 has other family members and things that he can also live with. Children can't. So yes, in a situation where like we may not have an option, and the only option is welfare. Of course, you're gonna choose the welfare to make sure that your children have shelter. But back to the subject of hand. Because I was basically breaking down how women are twice as more likely to get post-traumatic stress disorder in the article. People with post-traumatic stress disorder have intense, disturbing thoughts and feelings related to their experience. And I can tell you that let me just stop right there. I'm gonna just tell you. Like I have post-traumatic stress disorder. Not I lost quite a few jobs um, because of it, and this is how I qualified. You know how like post-traumatic stress is a disability, and it's also covered and protected. People with this with post-traumatic stress disorder are protected under the Disability Act. So just like we say, LGBTQ people are protected. People with disabilities, post-traumatic stress disorder, and mental disorders, and emotional disorders, and personality disorders, and all of those things are protected as well. So that means that um, you just can't be mistreating people like with post-traumatic, well, with any type of mental disorder or with any type of disorder. And believe it or not, in these days, in these societies, a lot of people have disorders. And basically, people can't control, like from firsthand experience, when I'm triggered or when something reminds me, I have no control. Sometimes you don't even know it's gonna happen. It's like you may walk up on a situation and all of a sudden it's like a little split second of a thought. And if that thought can escalate from 0 to 360 in a few seconds. So like if you're not familiar with your triggers, and triggers are things that, like sight, sound, smell, and stuff like that, that would set you off. Then, like, in a sense, like if you're not, I'm gonna be honest, with post traumatic stress disorder, if you're not familiar with your triggers, then it's just hard for you to maintain coping skills or maintain balance, with post traumatic stress disorder, because your mind automatically goes into fight or flight mode. And I'm going to explain that to you all in just a minute. But as well, um, they may relieve the event through flashbacks or nightmares. They may feel sadness, fear of anger, and they may feel detached or estranged. Give me a minute because my computer don't. Okay, wrong one. They may feel detached, estranged from other people. Like people with post traumatic stress disorder can sometimes isolate, because like post-traumatic stress disorder, give me a moment, I'm going to pull it up and read it out precisely. But it includes depression, it includes anxiety. And the anxiety of post-traumatic stress disorder is, that's the worst. That's real. And what people don't know is severe anxiety can cause delusions, hallucinations, and all different types of things. And that's some of the components that goes on with post-traumatic stress disorder. Whereas, that person might look real, but it's all types of things going on in their head, that's causing fear, panic, and can cause like some negative, not thought out reactions. People with post traumatic stress disorder may avoid situations or people that remind them of the traumatic event. Yes, like some people, like, okay, let me read that again and then I'll explain. People with post traumatic stress disorder may avoid situations or people that remind them of the traumatic events. And they may have strong negative reactions to something as ordinary as a loud noise or an accidental touch. Like, for instance, if you had trauma next to a lake, then a lot of people may avoid lakes. And I'm sure that y'all have heard about people who like may have been in an accident with like an 18-wheeler, and those people are generally the people who, whenever they're on the road or whatever, they're it's hard for them to drive past an 18-wheeler. It's hard, for them to ride around the 18-wheeler. A lot of times those people avoid highways altogether. But like different things, like whatever sights and sounds and different things that you saw during a trigger, like a lot of times people with post-traumatic stress disorder would avoid those type of situations. Just like um one of the hardest things about me being home is, this is the place, like where, the trauma took place for me. And I remember when I first officially, like when I was just visiting and stuff, visiting, it wasn't as bad. But when I actually, like, came here to officially help my grandmother, when I actually gave up my home And I knew that it was like sort of going to be official for a little while. All of these different triggers, I started seeing or experiencing all of these different triggers and things of that nature. It was a point that I almost thought I wasn't going to make it, but because of the fact that I have had treatment, I have learned coping skills. I feel very proud of myself because I made it through. But it was hard though. I cannot tell you, even with the coping skills, even with me being a person that also helps teach other people coping skills, it still was no different. It was hard, but I'm proud of myself because I made it through. So I'm gonna take a few minutes to look at the chat, and then I want to play this video for everyone. Okay, I'm gonna play this video real quick. Okay, give me just a moment. I'm gonna play this video. And also, let me read this slideshow. Crisis reaction. This is what's on the screen right now. I was trying to enlarge it, but for some odd reason, I can't enlarge it right now. Crisis reaction. Victims will react differently to traumatic events, depending on the level of personal violation, their personality, experiences, and support systems, their state of equilibrium at the victimization. So, not everybody, like I said, gets post-traumatic stress disorder, and not everybody's post-traumatic stress disorder may be as severe. Like you can't judge. In other words, you cannot judge like one person, like based, like just say someone was thrown in a pond as a child and it traumatized them. Just because that doesn't seem all that serious to you, you can't say that that person does not have severe post-traumatic stress disorder. So in other words, you can't judge from situation to situation. You have to look at each individual account, and you have to consider that our bodies are all wired differently, and a lot of things depend on like our environments and situations as well, in which we've been brought up in. And all people have a normal state of equilibrium called homeostasis. It is influenced by everyday stressors such as illness, moving, changes in employment, and family issues. If a person's equilibrium is disrupted, our bodies react. However, they return to previous functioning levels. The combination of everyday stressors, in addition to being victimized, a person's equilibrium can become overloaded, making the person vulnerable to developing post-traumatic stress disorder. All right. So also I want to play this video and give y'all an idea. And then I'm going to go to some other information real quick. I'm not going to try to stay too long, but give me just a moment. Okay, this is from Fox, Montana, and it's old, but I just wanted to, play a clip, showing you all how the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. Give me just a moment. There we go. Okay, here we go.
And the 4th of July is a time to remember our freedom and celebrate America's birthday. But the way we celebrate can often hurt those who fought to keep that very freedom.
Our reporter, Nicholas Berger, joins us in the studio. And Nick, you were saying that growing up as a military child, it's allowed you to see the negative side to fireworks.
Taylor Ty, PTSD is a major issue for thousands of military members across the U.S.
Fair use.
And bright
Fair
lights
use. This
can
video
often trigger
is for fair use and educational
and on the 4th of July, fireworks can do just that. PTSD is short for post-traumatic stress disorder and is typically tied to an event in someone's life that was deeply disturbing. For veterans, this usually includes memories of war. Certain sensations, such as the loud and bright lights from fireworks, can remind a veteran of an explosion. And according to the Veterans Affairs Office in Great Falls, everyone can still have a fun 4th of July with just a quick conversation.
Maybe having that conversation with them and asking them, hey, I'd like to light some fireworks off. You know, I want to be a good neighbor to you. What would you think about that, or how would you feel about that? And that would at least let them know that you're trying to be respectful for them.
Chris explains that every person's condition is different. While some might be okay with loud noises and bangs, others might get startled by even the smallest of fireworks. In the end, it all just comes down to a simple conversation. And while the Veterans Affairs Office is doing all they can to help these vets cope with PTSD, it's still important for us in the community to do our part. So for more information on what you can do, make sure you head to our website. Reporting in the studio, I'm Nicholas Berger, Montana Right Now.
All right. So you see like a simple thing like fireworks. You see like fireworks. Like a lot of people don't think about the fact that, you know, like some combat veterans, or not even just somebody who's a veteran, somebody who may have like been a witness to a shootout, or somebody who may have been witnessed something dealing with, you know, like gunfire, being traumatized by firecrackers. And, you know, like every 4th of July, you know, like we as people, we just go, we don't think about it. We go by firecrackers. And, you know, a lot of times we don't think if our neighbor is affected by that noise. Like, I'm going to tell you, my aunt had a dog, a shadow. He was real big. He was a Siberian Husky, very pretty. For 4th of July, you know, we had to lock him up in this cage because he was just that traumatized by fireworks to the point where he was delusional. Now, I don't know what may have happened to Shadow, like in his lifetime or whatever, to why he was like that, but he was traumatized by firecrackers as well. So even animals can get post-traumatic stress disorder and different things like that from trauma. So, like, my point in bringing all this forward is, like, there's a lot of things going on in this sector right now. And, like, although a lot of people have been through, like, a lot of different traumas, and you know, a lot of times people have been so, what's the word? Well, the roasting, the gags, and the name calling and different things like that. Like, what we don't know is that, you know, it causes a lot of, it's not just causing trauma. It may not be causing a trigger to just that person that you intended to trigger. It's all, you know, it's also you know, may trigger anybody who like has that, you know, like is triggered by that. So although you may shoot at one person or shoot to trigger or shoot, because basically that's what it is. The bullying and the name calling and all that stuff, it's shooting to trigger a person. It's shooting to get next to them. It's shooting to bother them. And lo and behold, and people aim to do it. And people, like, a lot of times people want to see the worst, or they want to see that it affected that person. But my point is, you know, like, oh, this just roasting gag, oh, this just beef, all this whatever. But, you know, like, it's dangerous. And I just have a feeling that one day in this sector, that roasting gag may cause somebody to become suicidal. That roasting gag may cause somebody to have to be hospitalized for long, extensive times. You know, that roasting gag, you know, like, could cause a lot of different things, because, and not necessarily always to the person that they intended to roast and gag or shoot the insult to or belittle. So a lot of times, you know, we got to start being, as adults, and we're all adults and we should know better. We have to, and I say we have to start being more responsible about how we treat each other, and the things that we say to each other, and the things that come out of our mouths. Because, like they say in the Bible, the tongue can be a sword. Words can kill. And so I just want to give a little education on post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm gonna cover like a lot of different mental health diagnoses. I'm not gonna go real deep into it. I want to familiarize you all with it, and familiarize you with some of the symptoms and things of that nature, so that you will be aware. You know, they're aware, and as well, if you see like a loved one or family member or a friend, with those symptoms, don't diagnose them, because like myself, I've had a lot of mental health training, but I'm not a doctor or a therapist. Therefore, I cannot diagnose someone. But at least, take them, or, ask them, or guide them to get some type of help. Because like like, just like there are tons of people right now in jail, and me, like, I'm an advocate for mental health. And one of the things that, we know that you don't get proper treatment in jail. Outside of jail, you get proper treatment. So, like, actually, by sending people in to jail that have mental illnesses, it's not doing society any good. It's just wasting money, because once they get out, they're untreated. They're gonna go, and it's gonna be worse, because they're gonna pick up triggers and traumas from being in around other people. Uh, you know, um, Other misbehaving people. So once they get out, they're prone to likely to, repeat that behavior or worse. And that's not what we want. And then us as people, we have to start learning how to solve our problems. I've always said that. Like, we have to start looking in our family, and instead of, like, just saying, oh, little John is weird, or Tiffany over there, she's weird, or, instead of, like, just taking them, like, oh, let me just take them to church and get them to cast the demons out of them and stuff like that. No, take them to seek, seek some type of professional mental health. Now you have to, do your research. You don't accept, like, just like in any situation, when it comes down to mental health or health in general, you don't just accept the first diagnosis or the first thing. Do your research, and then also, like, go get a second or third opinion. And there are many different medications, and not all medications work the same on everyone. As well, like, there are many different forms of therapy, and not all therapies, like DBT, for instance, diabetal, never mind, DBT. DBT therapy, like, it's basically for personality disorders and different things of that nature. It's a specialized type of therapy. And regular therapy wouldn't work for people, in need of DBT. It's so basically, if even if it's you, like, stay educated on your symptoms. They have plenty of information out there. And as well, be honest with your doctors. Question your doctors. Be honest with your doctors, because basically, they can't. The only way your doctors can give you an accurate diagnosis is if you also communicate with your doctor. So you have to open up and be honest. And, let me tell you, living with anxiety is hard. So, you may say, I don't want that anxiety medicine. I don't want, I have to go to no therapist or nothing like that. But I'm going to tell you, once you live with anxiety, and then you get that help, and you can feel like at peace, instead of a nervous wreck all the time, instead of jumping, instead of, like, just being hyper vigilant all the time, hyper alert, hyper vigilant. It just makes your life so much better. So, you will have a better quality of life. So so advise, like, your people, or, that, you see that might need some help. And if you yourself see that you might need some help, because anything can happen. You could be in a bad car accident and it causes post-traumatic stress disorder. You could, so it's not like something was wrong with you. It's not like you were wired differently. Some things are chemical imbalances, and, and some things are from environmental stressors. So it doesn't mean that you're not functional. It doesn't mean that you lack intelligence. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you as a person. It just means that something happened, and, it just threw you a little off balance a little bit. But you can get back on balance, or you can at least learn how to maintain and cope throughout and have a decent life. So, I wanted to say that as well. Let me just go through this real quick. and then I'm going to let you all go. Okay, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, post-traumatic stress disorder is an anxiety order that can develop after exposure to terrifying events or ordeals in which grave physical harm occurred or was threatened. So words can cause post-traumatic stress disorder. Traumatic events that may trigger PTSD include violent personal assaults, natural or human-caused disasters, accidents, or military combat. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Okay, give me just a sec. Okay, let me explain to you what is hypervigilance real quick. There we go. Well, let me explain to you let me read what triggers are. Okay, what does it mean to be triggered? In recent years, this term has been casually used to refer to the experience of having an emotional reaction, usually to some type of disturbing content in form of media. And in another social context, be that violent. I don't understand. Hold on. What does it mean to be triggered? In recent years, the term has been casually used to refer to the experience of having an emotional reaction, usually to some type of disturbing content in the form of media and in another social context, be that violent, mention of suicide, or other situations. See, that read much better once I slowed down. However, from a mental health perspective, being triggered more narrowly refers to the experience of people with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, re-experiencing symptoms of traumatic events, such as exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violations after being exposed to a trigger that is a catalyst or a reminder. Triggers can be internal or external, including smells. Triggers can be smells, sights, sounds, and emotions that remind the person of the past trauma in some way. When a person with post-traumatic stress disorder experience being triggered in this way, it can lead to overwhelming emotions, including sadness, anxiety, panic, and flashbacks. Vivid memories that appear without warning and can cause you to lose track of where you are or to relieve a trauma. Triggers can also be relevant for those with mental health disorders, including anxiety disorders, eating disorders, and substance abuse. Those who are triggered may relapse in harmful habits. Next, let's examine the types of situations that might trigger symptoms and then consider how you can cope if you are causing problems for you. Types of triggers. As mentioned, triggers can be both internal and external. Below are examples of the different kinds of events that might be considered triggers in terms of mental health problems. Internal. The most common internal triggering events are the following list of situations: stress, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, a racing heart, anger, sadness, feeling lonely, feeling abandoned, frustration, feeling out of control, pain, and tension. External. Below is a list of potential external events that may cause a person to feel triggered. Going to a specific location that reminds them of a traumatic event. An anniversary date. And what an anniversary date is, it's like when you lose it's like when something traumatic happens or you experience a loss, like if on a date that you may have lost a parent, or on a date that you may have lost a loved one. That's an anniversary. And a lot of times, I went through that for a little while, and I had really didn't know what it was during the time of my mother. It's like every year for a couple of years around that time, no doubt, I just felt funny. And once I became aware of what the anniversary date was, and like how it affected me, I then like knew that was a trigger. So like when I started feeling like depressed you know, and sometimes for no reason. You know, I knew that it was due to like, you know, that was the anniversary period. A violent movie, a particular smell that is connected to a past trauma, seeing an overly thin celebrity. Wait a minute. Oh, seeing an overly thin celebrity in case of anorexia. So people with anorexia may get triggered when they see somebody else that's really thin. Okay. Loud noises, e.g., a motorbike in the case of a war veteran, a particular interaction, seeing someone else use drugs, for instance. Like, yeah, like most of the time, substance abusers or drug addicts, they can't be around other drug addicts. News stories and about bad events, the ending of a relationship, being alone too much, feeling judged, money problems, physical illness. Yes, physical illness can cause post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as like what a lot of people don't realize is people with severe physical illnesses and stuff like that, they go through a lot of mental health issues. You know, it's like, you know, it's you know, it's they go through a lot of, you know, mental health issues. Let me just say that. Sexual harassment, a particular time of day, like sunset, because like if you know, like a particular time of day, you know, could, you know, be a trigger for some people. Being in a crowd, like some people are, I know people who are triggered by clowns. So how triggers are formed, while we don't know exactly how triggers are formed, it's believed that traumatic memories are stored differently in the brain than non-traumatic memories. Past events may be interpreted as current threats, which causes the body to experience symptoms similar to the original trauma, such as fight or flight response. And let me teach you what fight. Let me just define fight or flight, and then I'm gonna define hypervigilance, and then we'll be on our way. Okay? Probably go back to meditating and playing with my puppy. Meditation helps with anxiety disorder as well, and you know it helps slow down. It slows the brain down. Even it helps my ADHD as well. But some of the signs of hypervigilance, or some of the signs of fight or flight, is dilated pupils. Let me share this one. Y'all give me a moment. I'm going to share this one. Trying to remember what tab I'm on. But never mind. I'm not going to share that one. That's taking a little too long. All right. Let me just go back and that's part of that 80. I was getting a little antsy. I was about to get overwhelmed. Okay, so how? Okay, I might be able to do this home. There you go. Woo, yeah. It was right in my face, y'all. Okay, some of the signs of fight or flight responses are dilated pupils, pale or flushed skin. Well, you know, for us, you know, for me, that doesn't count. Trembling, rapid heartbeat. A lot of times it's sped up. It might be racing thoughts and different things of that nature. As well, give me just a moment. The fight or flight response, also known as the acute stress response, refers to psychological reaction that occurs in the presence of something that is terrifying, either mentally or physically. The response is triggered by the release of hormones. So this is chemical. Like your triggers, when you're triggered, it produces chemicals. Your body produces a certain type of chemicals. So like, you know, and they are during the time that you're in fight or flight, your body produces a certain type of chemical that, you know, generally, you know, sends your body into fight or flight. but it's triggered by the release of hormones that prepare your body to either stay and deal with the threat or run away to safety. The term fight or flight represents the choice in our ancient ancestors had we faced with danger in their environment. They could either fight or flee. In either case, the psychological or sociological, psychological, physiological or psychological response to stress prepares the body to react to the danger. The fight or flight response was first described in the 1920s by American psychologist Walter Cannon. Cannon realized that a chain of rapidly occurring reactions inside the body helped to mobilize the body's resources to deal with threatening circumstances. Today, the fight or flight response is recognized as part of the first stage of Hans Selye's general adaptation syndrome, a theory describing the stress response. All right. Now, like y'all know that like people say, you know, the law of nature is self-preservation. Well, that's what they're talking about. Our like inside our body, our God gave us everything that we need. Okay. And so like we're only supposed to our body, we don't really have to think. We have several different levels. We have the conscious and we have the subconscious mind. And sometimes our subconscious kicks in. And a lot in our subconscious, like your mind is wired to your body. So like when your mind sends your subconscious mind sends messages, and that's your pineal gland, your third eye, whatever. You know, when your subconscious mind sends messages to your body, it also produces chemicals that, you know, puts, you know, you in a certain stage of thinking, in a certain alertness, in a certain hypervigilance. Like just like our ancestors, my ancestors, they used to play drums and they had war music to get people like prepared, you know, for war, to get them like in the mode or in the spirit or in the, you know, mode for war. So there are like different things. Music can trigger music in different ways that you can get your body prepared for certain things, but our body has a natural reaction to do that as well. So fight or flight is, you know, because chemicals and stuff are produced. Now, give me just one moment. And the last thing that I want to do is I want to just go over what hypervigilance is. And therefore, that means that I went over the definition of post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, I told you like about triggers. I told you that post-traumatic stress disorder does not just have to deal with like war veterans and things of that, you know, people of that nature. You know, it can deal with any trauma, and you can't say what, you know, would give a person post-traumatic stress disorder because like our bodies and our minds are all wired differently. There we go. Okay, hypervigilance is an enhanced state of sensory sensitivity accompanied by an exaggerated intensity of behaviors whose purpose is to detect activity. Hypervigilance may bring about a state of increased anxiety, which can be exhausting. Okay, give me one. Let me go back to that. People experience hypervigilance are usually sensitive to the environment and the people around them.
You real busy?
I'm on live.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm on live.
I was going to ask you.
Well, you have to wait. I'm on live.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. People experience hypervigilance are usually sensitive to the environment and people around them. It is not a condition in itself, but a way of behaving that may be caused by trauma or underlying mental health problems. When someone experiences hypervigilance, their subconscious is consistently anticipating danger. So it's like it's like you feel danger. It's like your body and everything is, you know, like is feeling danger. Even if there's no danger there, your body goes into like it's danger. So your body, like, it's like almost like as though, you know, regardless of whatever, it could be a false alarm or whatever, you're feeling in danger and you're going to react in that way. But y'all, I'm going to play some music. I have to, you know, my grandma needs something, so I'm going to get off. But I just wanted to describe those few little components of PTSD. I'm probably going to set that live out or come back on later, and, you know, break down a few things about ADHD. I like to give you like a few research, few keywords and different things like that, so that, you know, you can go research on your own as well. And if you have any questions, by all means, leave them in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer them. But I just want to give a general connotation of that. Let me read the chat real quick. My grandma. Yeah, you're right, Miss TRZ. Go get a referral. Miss TRZ says, go get a referral from your medical doctor to see a physical doctor. Do not allow your medical doctor to give you meds for anxiety. You need a psychiatric evaluation. Yeah, and Miss TR says PTSD is due to trauma. Anything can trigger it. My psych doctor said it was from all the meds I was on. Yeah, medication, a lot of different things can cause that. You're right. No, and let me tell you, in our community, we call anxiety. Let me just break down. We calling. I learned this a long time ago by you know, teaching or delivering, or, you know, educating other people. Anxiety in our community, in our Black community, we call it bad nerves. So when you hear people say bad nerves are anxiety. It's the nervousness, it's the short patience. Bad nerves is anxiety. And, you know, some people have, and it can be due to post-traumatic stress disorder, because a lot of mental health diagnoses include like multiple symptoms like depression and anxiety. So like it could be like numerous reasons why, you know, you might have anxiety. It could be associated with bipolar disorder. You know, it's the depression and, you know, the mania, and it also can include anxiety. ADHD includes anxiety. So there are a number of, you know, different things that include anxiety. And I tell you, like, there's nothing like getting treatment and, you know, and not having to feel that way and not having to react that way, because you can tell a lot of times when people have anxiety, or as we say in the community, bad nerves. But like I said, let me play this music real quick. And I love you all. Thank you all for, you know, participating. Thank you all for coming. Let me go tend to my grandmother. She probably doesn't want anything. She's spoiled, but, you know, still, let me go see what she wants. And like I said, I might do the ADHD one either tonight, or I might do that tomorrow. So let me give y'all some soul here. Be right back. Let me go make sure.
This is another Fossil production. Fossil Prod. This is an original instrumental. Soulful music. Enjoy. This is another Fossil production. Fossil Prod. This is an original instrumental. Soulful music. This is another Impossible production. Fossil Pride. This is an original instrumental. So for music. This is another Impossible production. Fossil Pride. This is an original instrumental. So for music. Enjoy. This is another Impossible production.